Yes, I can. Perfect. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I can go ahead and record it. I can start recording on my end, and then I'll follow up with you on the recording and then also the deck so that we can share the deck to your members. Okay, perfect. Sweet. Yeah, so what I can do is,
This meeting is being recorded.
and then let me go ahead and start sharing my screen so that we can get started. So Katie, if you want to go online. Thanks for you folks who were able to drop in on today's call. I know that this is, kind of follow up to the fantastic kind of challenge that you all had participated in. It was great to see the folks that were the winners. Congratulations. And then also, more importantly, a lot of fantastic work that both Katie and myself were able to witness during the kind of pitch consulting breakouts and all of that stuff. But for today, both Katie and myself are SAP employees. Just to introduce quickly ourselves, I am Joseph Ham Silvestre. I'm the operations and experience lead for a technical rotational program here where we help focus on recent grads who are in the design, data science, and also development spaces. Katie will definitely go into more detail about this program later on, but we're both part of the same team within the same program. I've been with SAP now, though, for 3 years. Didn't start out in operations and experience. I actually came in as a recruitment intern for one of our intern programs that we have. So for those of you on the line or those who will be listening in on the recording later, we also have a fantastic intern experience program that I will also be speaking to today. And for both of the programs, and then also just overall offerings, we'll be chatting a bit about those things too. So I'll talk about the agenda in a bit, but I wanted to hand it off quickly to Katie so she can introduce herself as well.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Sullivan. As Joe mentioned, I am the program manager for Silicon Valley Next Talent, the technical rotational program that we'll go into a little bit later, which you all, if you're interested, can get hired full-time into SAP through. A little bit about myself. I'm born and raised the Bay Area. I went to undergrad at UC Santa Cruz with a literature and psychology double major, grad school at San Jose State. Zigzagged my way through the Silicon Valley and industries, having 7 different internships before I ended up landing at SAP, which I have been in for about 4 years. First starting off as an HR business partner, then I built and ran our intern program called IXP. For the past 2 years, I was running the Silicon Valley Next Talent program, and actually just this week, I am now expanding and my role to be the manager of all internal programs for the Bay Area. So that's a little bit about myself, and I'm excited to learn more and tell you more about SAP. Joe?
Awesome. Thanks, Katie, for the quick intro. And so as far as today is concerned, this is what we have lined up. Of course, what is SAP anyway? For those of you who don't know, we'll definitely take a quick high-level dive into SAP and our offerings. And then from there, of course, you all are interested in both intern, recent grad, or even just some professional full-time opportunities that we'll also talk about. And then, of course, the application process, typically how it's seen within our own organization. We do want to leave the last couple of minutes for an Ask Me Anything session. So for those of you on the line, if you do have any questions for us, we'd be more than happy to share. All right. But, just to get started, just on SAP and who we are a pretty long-term organization. We've been, fighting the good fight within tech since 1972. We started out with a team of 5 friends who had a desire to do something new. Of course, their focus when they started in 1972 was really on enterprise, specifically enterprise software. Specifically, they started within payroll systems. And so, oftentimes when it came to payroll and then also clocking in and clocking out, in the 70s, they had kind of that robust, clock in, or you would get that stamp in and you'd stamp out. So they really wanted to automate some of these processes so businesses didn't have to, go back and try to focus on those things. So, in that focus, they then emerged this concept of like enterprise software, and maybe more so our focus, which is how business can get done more effectively through that. So that's really what SAP focuses on, is enterprise software. So that business to business solutions through software on how businesses can maximize their own work and the products that we use day in and day out. Now, to give you a quick snapshot of our organization globally, we are headquartered in Waldorf, Germany. So we are a European-based company, which actually has its pluses. Knowing that we do have and are part of a global ecosystem, I think is fantastic. The fact that we're also able to, have that interesting approach to a large-scale organization and then also not be US-centric, I think has been really interesting from our eyes. What's neat about us is that because we are a global entity, we have customers in over 190 countries. As to the types of industries and the types of companies, we'll get to that in a little bit. We have over 100,000 employees in 130 countries. Something for those of you who are current college students, 97 of the top 100 universities in the world actually run on SAP solutions. A lot of the ones that they run on include SAP Concur, which is our expense management, and also SAP Ariba, which is our procurement supply chain solution. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, great, Joe, these are fantastic softwares. How does that bring impact to organizations, right? And when you're thinking about products that we then use day in and day out, day in and day out, oftentimes they need to be built, right? Or they need to be made. And, on our software, every 60 seconds, SAP customers are able to produce, all of these products, including 3,800 grams of gold, right? Over 280,000 liters of beer, because of course we're a German-based company, so we like our beer. Over 54,000 barrels of oil, over 17,000 liters of ice cream, which is my personal favorite, and then 2,800 pairs of athletic shoes, and over 12,000 kilograms of chocolate. And this includes a lot of the name brands that we know, right? So See's, Lindt, Dove, Reese's, Mars bars, right? So a lot of these customers are running on our software so that they can continue to produce all of these products that we then consume day in and day out. Now, for those of you who maybe don't have an appeal to these types of products, but you're interested in more so the types of companies that we partner with, both in prior and also current, this is just a snapshot of some of the industries that we support, and then also some of the companies that we've worked with closely. So as you can see in the bottom right corner, we have public services. So we work with government entities. We also work with specific government organizations or government-sponsored organizations like NASA, or even states like the state of Tennessee. On the top left, you can see that we even have consumer industries, of course, right? So we have the likes of Johnsonville, P&G, Unilever. We even have both Coca-Cola and Pepsi as customers of ours. Of course, we don't, trade secrets just because they're big competitors of one another. But at the same time, I think that's an interesting lens for us to have as a business-to-business enterprise, in the sense that we are able to then almost look under the hood of these businesses, of course, provide solutions for them. But more importantly, we also get to see how other businesses run, right? And I think that's an interesting vantage point to have, especially in business altogether in our work. Now, of course, we do have best run businesses and they run SAP software, but it does start with our organization and our employees, right? And so we want to make sure that all of you are bringing your talents to work. So if you are interested in the organization, we really want to make sure that you are bringing everything you are, and then you're becoming everything you want, right? That's kind of our motto, and that's our focus whenever we're hiring. We are recognized as a place with a strong forward-looking culture that attracts minds from all over the world. But rather than just kind of give you that fluff, right, we wanted to provide you with some of these metrics and some of these ways in which we've been able to drive that impact. So currently we have a 93% employee retention rate. For those of you who don't know what retention rate means that high retention rate means that no one wants to leave, right? Katie and myself, you would have to throw us out a window, right? Well, virtual window now because we're working from home. But we don't want to leave the organization. And the reason why is because there are those professional development opportunities and the programs like the ones that we help lead and run that we'll get to in a bit. But at the same time, we're also making sure that we're moving the needle forward in these conversations, not only influencing our own internal employees, but then also the communities and the ecosystems that we serve, right? So as I mentioned before in that slide prior, there are many different types of industries that we work with. And as a result, those partners we can help influence if they're not already driving the needle forward in their own respective fields. We have won about 297 in Best Employer Awards in 2019. I believe this year we've already surpassed that goal. I'm going to have to go back to make sure I check, but I believe we've reached at least 300, which is fantastic to hear. Some of the ones that we've won this last year in 2019 include the #1 internship program in the US by Way Up. So for those of you who are interested in intern programs, what's neat about Way Up is that this was actually a platform where interns in those specific companies vote based on their experience. It's not like we as leadership come in and show all of these awesome, dings, whistles, all of this confetti and saying, oh yeah, we're an amazing program, and then they choose from us. This is really based on surveys that have been given to the interns themselves. And it's all done anonymously. So the fact that we're able to get the distinction of being the #1 intern program, I think is pretty neat to see. Some other fun ones include Glassdoor's top employer in 22 countries. Again, because we do have employees in over 130 countries. It's nice to know that our employees, not only like from a US centric or Canada centric lens, or even German centric lens, but really there are 22 other countries who also, employees have been able to then just share their experience and why it's been a fantastic time while with us. Of course, we're a top 1,000 company worldwide for millennial women. This one similarly was sent to all millennial women survey-based anonymously. So it's not like we say, oh yeah, we have tons of fantastic millennial women and they're having an awesome time. This is also done through survey. And then of course, we're one of Reuters' top 100 global tech leaders. One of the things, knowing that, based on the challenge that you all were participating in, that I also wanted to share is that when it comes to the talents at work, we also want to make sure that we're influencing the communities and also the social spheres that we're a part of outside of work. And some of that is, knowing that we're not a perfect company, but at the same time, though, we are wanting to challenge ourselves and then step forward into that uncomfortability when it comes to critical conversations around social justice and also equity at SAP. And, I will be sharing the slide deck with you, but there are a lot of initiatives that have not only happened the last couple of years, but also I think have expanded exponentially over the last few months, when it comes to how organizations can help influence change, and then also how we need to take an introspective approach to a lot of the initiatives we have, right? Because a lot of these numbers, we want to make sure that we're changing. And so, for example, our Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, she, right at the start of the year had, really come up and taking a stance on what fear feels like and what orgs can do about it, right? Really calling out not only our organization on change, but then also the larger tech industry or even other partners on what they can do. Of course, those conversations, it's one thing to have a conversation, it's another thing to then take action about it, right? And so we are taking action on multiple levels that are found in that taking action towards social justice blog and also that video. I won't get into too many details as to all of the initiatives that we've been taking, but for example, one of the things is that we do want to double the amount of both Black and African identified individuals within the organization based on their own region. Another thing is that we are taking a stand on a fight against hate. So we have disinvested our own presence on both Facebook and Instagram when it comes to all of our media and also all of our marketing efforts of SAP. And so they know that they can, hold themselves accountable to the type of information that's being sent there and the truth behind it. So those are just two examples. And of course, there's more details about all of our other initiatives in these links. And of course, it's one thing to also drive the needle forward when it comes to, race equity and inclusion, within SAP, but at the same time, from a US lens, or I mean, from a global lens and not just US lens, we want to also share some of the investings in sustainability, social justice, and equality, and other aspects of the world, right? Because as we mentioned, we're a global company, and so there are a lot of other social justice issues that are affecting a lot of individuals that we also want to make sure we're taking a stand on. So a larger conversation and a larger list can be found in that bottom link that you can all explore after we share the deck with you all. So, now that we've given you kind of an overview of SAP, some of the fantastic initiatives we're doing, some of the ways in which we help support professionally and also personally our employees, we want to take a deep dive into two specific programs that, you can maybe find yourself in if you are interested in applying for our organization. So the first is for all of you college students who are currently enrolled in academic institutions. We have our Global Internship Experience Project, which is our intern program. To give you a quick rundown of what our intern program looks like, we started in 2000, I believe, 16, so a little over 4 years ago, started with 40 interns in one office in Seattle. So in our Bellevue office in Concur, and in the last 4 years, we've been able to expand this program to now serve over 1,000 interns in 18 different cities in 6 different countries. Now, what's neat about this program and why it's grown so exponentially is because we're trying to shake up what the concept of an intern program is, right? So all of us have either witnessed, we've heard from friends, or we just know that the stereotype of an intern is that you come in, you do some menial tasks, you get some professional development work, some hopefully bullet points that you can add to your resume so that at the end of the summer, you have at least one piece of professional experience that you can then do as you're then thinking about what your next opportunity is. Well, IXP actually wanted to shake what that concept was. And so what we ended up building is a model, a curriculum where we're able to then have action and accountability in the time that you're with us over the summer. The intern program here in the US, for those of you who are interested here, typically runs for about 10 to 12 weeks in the summer, from June to about August. So actually today is the last day that most of our interns finish their own experiences with SAP. Which has been phenomenal to get to know. Both Katie and I have been able to network with them because a lot of them see us as mentors, or if not just as they're doing their own end of summer showcase of the projects they worked on and the impact they've made. We've been able to then participate in those things. But to give you, this model, the reason why, it's worked so well for us and why we've invested so much money and then also just time in building out it is because we did want to break down what those 10 to 12 weeks look like into the 70-20-10. So what that means is 70% of the time that you're working with us is focused on the job learning, right? So you're driving real business impact, you have high visibility based on the projects you're working on, and you have a cross-functional component. So what does that look like? You come into the internship with a specific project or projects lined up that drive value. Right? So you come in, you challenge that status quo, you bring in newer creative ideas to that specific team based on the problem that they're facing, right? So during those 10 to 12 weeks, you're really being able to then have a project that they'll then adopt later on. The other 30% of your time that you're with us is focused on more of the personal holistic development, right? So for formal development, we have in-person and virtual. Well, not right now, in person. Actually, some countries, yes, because they've now been able to lift their shelter in place. So they're doing some in person, but a lot of them are virtual learning sessions or learning bursts where they speak to subject matter experts across a larger SAP ecosystem. And this might be both for professional and also personal development. So on the professional side, this might be new and emerging technologies within SAP, right? Or new products that are happening within our IO offices, which is our kind of internal venture fund. There might be also personal development opportunities like the power of professional pitch, LinkedIn and resume boosting, right? So that you can help prepare for what your next professional play will be. So we do all of this to make sure we're elevating you. At the end of the summer, we also have a project showcase. And so this is, as I mentioned before, where you're able to then pitch the project you worked on for people that are outside of your immediate team. So this is maybe senior managers, leadership executives within your product line. This might be folks like Katie and myself who are looking for who are going to be the next talent for us, in our program after they've left their internship and now are interested in full-time roles at SAP, right? So this is an opportunity for you to then have that high visibility, high network component. And of course, the last 10% is social acculturation. It's just SAP's fancy way of saying fun and networking. We want you to have a good time while with us. So some things that we've done in the past and also this summer include a virtual CSR, right? So participating virtually on some CSR events. We have some social networking activities. So Katie and I sat in a networking kind of coffee chat, almost like speed dating, where we were able to meet multiple interns across the US and Canada. And then also, of course, you have an onboarding, which is a crash course into all things SAP so that you're ready to go as you start the summer. So that's a little bit about just the intern program and what you experience. Some quick things also to note, all of our internships are full-time, so you work 40 hours per week, and you also do get paid. So that's always another big question for us. Is this a paid internship? Yes, all of our interns do get paid. And we'll get into details more, or if you do have questions related to the application process later on for our questions and answer session. But with that, I know a lot of you are also perhaps interested in full-time opportunities, or maybe you're going to be, graduating really soon. And so you're like, okay, great, Joe, I'm not looking for an internship. I actually would like a full-time role. I'm going to hand it off to Katie, who's going to talk about our Silicon Valley Next Talent program.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Hey, everyone. So yes, if you have questions, please feel free to put in the chat about the internship program, but I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into Silicon Valley Next Talent. So Silicon Valley Next Talent is a best-in-class technical rotational program that is dedicated to attracting, developing, and retaining the top talent here in the Bay Area. Now with COVID, that definition is a little bit skewed, right? It's anywhere in the US as long as the person is able to have work authorization while they're working for SAP. And so what the experience overall is threefold. So we hire 3 cohorts a year, every winter, summer, and fall. We have 20 people per cohort that are a mix of developers, designers, and data scientists. So over that year and a half, 18-month program, we have 90 participants in the program. So you have instantly 90 best friends to talk to learn from, to partner with these projects. What the overall experience is that you go through our recruitment process, and once you're hired, then you are brought in and experience a 2-week tailored onboarding process to help you get set up with everything you need to know to be successful in SAP. This extends from, understanding SAP to storytelling, negotiation, how to pitch, how to be self-aware and emotional intelligence, growth mindset, as well as technical skills like design thinking, sketch, Figma, animation, accessibility design, accessibility development, regression testing, anything that's related to your discipline, or if you want to learn other platforms and mindsets from other disciplines, you can also learn. But you are hired into one of these tracks, development, design, or data science. You go through these 2 weeks of onboarding, and then you are mutually matched to one of our 90 rotation teams. These rotation teams have been vetted for strategic growing teams that are really important for the Bay Area. They have, the team is able to support you in terms of mentorship, guidance, and feedback. And so you go on as a developer, designer, data science, whatever you were hired into, and you're there fully in UData as a team member for 6 months. So it could be that you are on a Scrum team with developers, designers, data scientists, product managers, everyone in between, all working together to solve a specific customer issue like Levi's or Uniqlo or Colgate. They've come to us with a specific question because they are our customers, and now we're creating a specific product, project, or workflow for them to help solve that issue. You could be on our supply chain and e-commerce team where you're on a team of developers focusing on one section of this product because there's 20 different sections of it, to make sure that the tech debt as well as the APIs are working. What new features can we bring and what new elements can we enhance for this product? Or you could be in our startup incubator rotation team where you are one of 2 developers working right next to the founder of this startup, the product owner, and the designer, all working together to continue to iterate the startup, get that seed funding, find the new customers, and iterate as you build the startup. So it really depends on what skills and interests you have and where you mutually match. But you're in that team as a full team member for 6 months. And if you love that team loves you, they have the headcount, you can stay on that team. If not, then you'll go through another week of training and mutually matched to a new team for your second rotation, and then rinse repeat for the third rotation. So you can do up to 3 rotations for a total of 18 months. Throughout this program, you also get tailored training. So yes, in between each of your rotations and in the beginning, you have dedicated week-long trainings, but you also get once a month, you get to meet one of our executives, our Chief Innovation Officer, our Chief Operating Officer for SAP Bay Area, the head of Analytics Cloud, what have you, to learn their journey, their line of business, what their strategy is, and how do they navigate all the opportunities that are in SAP. You also have social acculturation events with the cohorts that you have or with the alum. You get 3 layers of mentorship. So 1 being the rotation team mentor. You will get monthly mentorship meetings with either Joseph or myself to help you navigate the rotation, crucial conversations, as well as performance review. And you get an SVNT alum mentor, someone who has gone through the program, been hired, and is still at SAP to help mentor you on how to navigate these rotations and the program itself. Lastly, you get topic talk trainings, which help support you as a human, right? Maybe this is your first job, you don't know about benefits or investing. So we have gotten speakers and experts to help you understand investing 101, overcoming imposter syndrome, leveraging your mentorships, leveraging your benefits, and anything else that might help you have ease of mind outside of work, because we really believe in that work-life balance. At the end of the day, at the end of the 18 months, it's not 100% guarantee that you'll stay in SAP, but so far about 90% of our SVNTers who have gone through the program have found a role, their perfect team match, to then launch their career. And so in terms of the application process, because maybe one thing to note is, yes, the SVNT program is a full-time employment program. So that means you get a salary, you get a bonus, full benefits, the free coffee and lunch when we're in the office, the works. In terms of the application process, now IHP and SVNT have a little nuanced differences, but overall, the first step is that you have to apply. You must apply for us to legally talk to you. We can't accept your resume anywhere else. So please, Joe's gonna flash up what the next how to apply is. So definitely take those actions immediately. I currently am hiring right now for people to start in January, June, and September 2021. Yes, I hire for September 2021 now. So yes, you submit. Sometimes the recruiter will do a resume review, and you'll most likely be invited to a technical assessment. Now, this is an online platform in which you take an hour to an hour and a half coding assessment for you to showcase your coding skills. If you want to practice for this, I highly recommend LEET code, L-E-E-T code, to do some practice tests. If you pass that technical assessment, then you're invited to a behavioral interview, which is usually 30 to 45 minutes to get to know you better as yourself, your thought process, and what you're passionate about. If you pass that round, then you'll go into a virtual tech interview, which if you're a developer, that is a coding or whiteboarding challenge to see how you would approach code, how would you edit it, what questions would you ask, what's your thought process. If you're a data scientist, they may give you a data set for you to see your thought process, again, questions and quality of how you clean, model, and display the data. And designers, it will be a portfolio review. Again, same 3 concepts: approach, thought process, and questions that you ask to get to the end result. If you pass that round, then you will talk to the recruiter about a formal offer. The fastest I've seen someone go through this process is 2 weeks from submission to offer, because they were on it. They submitted, they got the tech assessment that day, they took it that day. And then then they were scheduled for the behavioral interview 3 days later because they had it open. Same thing for the virtual tech, boom, offer out. I've also seen someone take 3 months to go through this process because they waited 2 weeks to take the assessment. Then they wanted to do the interviews post finals, which was 2 weeks away. and then they were on vacation for 2 weeks because it was after finals. So really the speed of which you go through this process is dependent on your availability as well as the availability of our interviewers. I did see a question about pre and post COVID. So I'm going to go to the next slide, finish that out, and then answer that question. But I did see it. In terms of when and where to apply. So the internship experience project, again, it's mainly a summer program. However, we do hire interns year round. If you want to focus on school and if you have another job during school, happy to focus on that. Just make sure that if you want to be part of this summer intern program, that you start looking, probably December, but definitely January through May to start applying directly to the roles. Each internship is posted individually, so you do have to apply to each internship that you are interested and qualified for. Silicon Valley, we are always recruiting, it feels like. We have our application up right now for 2021. So if you have graduated in 2020, so May or December, or you are graduating in 2021, apply now. We will route you to the correct cohort, in which then you'll be automatically sent the technical assessment and brought through the process. Now, in terms of the experience pre and post COVID. So I'll have Joe talk about IXP, but I'll kick it off for SVNT. SVNT, we collectively decided that we were not going to delay the start dates because y'all are college students and you need that paycheck and you did the work to get hired. So we are keeping our promise and having you come aboard. What that meant is that everything that we were offering had to be virtual. So yes, you got a 2-week onboarding, and it was purely virtual. We made sure that every hour you had a 15-minute break and every day you had an hour and a half of lunch, and that you were done by the end of the day, West Coast time. We also established a WhatsApp group for you all to connect even before you started with our current SVNTers to understand what the experience is like, how to prep. Some of our SVNTers even found housing through this app, so then they didn't have to worry about it through this network. And then we have meetings just like this using Zoom. I'm your manager. I talk to you on a monthly or even weekly basis, as well as your rotation teams who are dictating the day-to-day projects, talk to you with our video on, through Slack, through meetings to help guide you in your project day-to-day. Like I said, there are over 90 people you can reach out to for help. It just takes asking and knowing the right person to go to. If you want to learn more about that overall experience, Joe did post the link to our blog that goes through, and you actually can hear the quotes from the SVNTers themselves on who got onboarded purely virtual through themselves. But yes, we mail you your equipment, we mail you some fun swag stuff, go through the onboarding, and then you talk to your team purely virtual to make sure you're still contributing. Joe, did I miss anything on SVNT, or do you want to talk about the IXP experience?
Yeah, great additions to that question, Katie. And then also, to your point, who was interested in experience of past versus pre, that's the same question we had, right? Because this was the first time that we were doing this pilot all virtual. And the fact that, in the data, it showed that, individuals were able to have as best, if not even better of an experience, knowing that they had an opportunity to review maybe some of these trainings because they were all recorded, or perhaps they weren't able to sit in a specific training because it was overlapped to another training that they also wanted to attend, but yet they were able to then review them afterward. I think that there are some benefits to the virtual environment. Of course, some of the, some of the downfalls is that you don't get to meet everybody in person because you are cohort based, but there were still some of those opportunities to make the connection. Moving into the intern program, similarly, right? So rather than saying, okay, we're completely going to then, cancel the intern program, we decided to move forward, right? One of SAP's commitments is if we are providing you with the experience and we've provided you with the offer, then we're going to hold true to that, right? And so, especially in the intern program, knowing that a lot of you are interested in that professional experience. So for the intern program, similarly, so the entire summer was spent virtually. Of course, you were still working with that same team who had hired you, and you were still working with that same manager. And so you were still getting those weekly one-on-ones, you were still working on a specific project, but all of the of that 70-20-10 model, that other 30% was all focused on virtual engagement. And some of them, Katie and I were even able to witness, and even some of them, we actually did cross collaboration. So for example, 3 events that happened over the summer for our interns, current SVNTers actually taught a full-scale workshop on specific technology that they used in and day out. So for example, we had 2 designers in SVNT teach over 100 audience members who were all interns on accessibility and design and how we do it at SAP. Another one was on the focus on the importance. Some of our engineers were talking about the importance of testing your own code, making sure that it's some tips and tricks along the way, knowing that a lot of our students still haven't been able to really see how testing code happens in real time or in professional environments. And then lastly, for our data scientists, they were able to then speak about recommender systems and when to use which one, especially knowing that all of our data science interns were focused on specific projects based on, specific or different data science disciplines. So, really allowing almost, if anything, this virtual environment, helped even provide more opportunity for us to then co-collab throughout the summer. Anything else to add, Katie, before we talk about the QR codes?
Nope, all good.
Cool. So I'm sure a lot of you are probably interested in knowing where the applications are, when to apply, how can I go about it? So we've provided this slide for you. The first one on the top left, for all of you who are interested in full-time developer, data science, and engineering roles because you're just going to be graduating. So if you're just recent grad, so you're interested in the SVNT program, feel free to scan this QR code and it'll take you directly to the SVNT site and the application. So those are for those, so this QR code is for those specifically focused on that. For all of you interested in the intern program, so in the center bottom, I have provided the QR code there. So it'll directly redirect you to the internship experience project. And then for all of you who are interested in other recent grad full-time roles, so maybe some of you on the call or some of you reviewing the video are more interested in sales or product management or finance or HR. So there are multiple other recent grad rotational programs that SAP offers. And so if you scan that QR code, it'll direct you to that site, and we'll give you a list of all of them. What I'm going to do right now too, or Katie, if you want to just share the career site to SAP, because there might be some of you who are, do have over 2 years of professional experience and you're maybe going through a career pivot, or some of you just want an associate engineering role because you do have a couple of years since you've graduated. Katie will be sending you the site, the careers link, so that you can start going directly and start filtering some of the roles that we have available for you as well. With that, of course, last but certainly not least, you can follow us on social media. For those of you who enjoy your social media, you can follow us on Life at SAP and SAP IXP. You can take a deep dive and explore some of the day in the life of our interns and also full-time employees there. But with that, I think that's all of the content that we had. We really wanted to give the last 15 to 20 minutes focused on you all to ask us any questions, right? So both Katie and myself have experience in recruitment. We both come from HR and building out young programs, and also, we both focus workshops on professional branding, LinkedIn, resume, tips and tricks. And so if any of you have any questions related to any of the content we've provided or just the overall kind of candidate experience, we're all ears. So we'll open it up to any questions that you might have via chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and ask in real time.
All right, Joe, we got our first question, which I'll go ahead and start, but you can feel free to add on. So the question is, how would you describe the culture of SAP compared to other Silicon Valley orgs? So from my perspective, I have a lot of friends who work at Google and Facebook, Workday, and Microsoft. And what I would say is the main difference is I'm actually friends with my coworkers. Before Joe joined my team, I was full friends with him, right? We went, I think, on vacations and celebrate birthdays together. I've traveled to India for one of my employees' weddings. I actually look forward to team happy hours. And I think that is a symptom of just SAP. You're in a 100,000 person company, but you never feel lost. There's always a line of help. Everyone is so eager to help you as long as you ask for it. And there's not really a whole lot of territory. There's not really, oh, that's outside of my job to help you. And people really care about you. And I think that stems from SAP benefits and perks that they do. Our leadership is very transparent. There's a weekly call with our chief innovation officer and our managing director of Bay Area to let us know, hey, these are the decisions, these are our obstacles, this is what we're doing. And that trickles down from it. And I can even remember from an SAP benefits perspective, when I started off as an intern 4 years ago. So I started off as an intern 4 years ago, and now I manage 95 people in all internal programs. I think that's a really cool cultural add. And even when I was an intern, my brother was going through chemo. He's fine now, but SAP offered to pay for his chemo, even though I was an intern and had just basic benefits through SAP. So I think they just care about your career. They give you opportunities to explore. That's how I got to where I am now. But that doesn't detract from the fact that they care about you as a human with the benefits, and their leaders are transparent, and the coworkers want to be friends and want to be helpful for you. Sorry if you heard my dog bark. Joe, anything to add?
I think one thing from a professional perspective, and why I've enjoyed the culture here at SAP is that everyone says, I want you to stay curious, right? But I think SAP takes it to the next level where they like challenge my curiosity. So it's either like, in real-time meetings, being asked by the COO or maybe the CIO, like, hey, Joe, what do you think? Right. And like in those moments where you didn't know that they were going to ask for your input, but yet they're challenging my curiosity. And I know during these moments, like I do have ideas to want to share, but I just wouldn't have thought that my curiosity would want to be at the forefront and then also challenged. At the same time, like I think it's always driving that needle forward. It's like, yes, it's one thing to be in an innovative organization. It's one thing to then be creating innovative programs, but then always having that question of how might we make this better, or how might we challenge ourselves to then drive again that needle forward even more, right? Like, for example, part of my responsibilities within SVNT specifically is to really focus on what the learning and development looks like within SVNT and that onboarding. And to Katie's point, like the iterations of every onboarding has been very different, and we're constantly reshaping it, right? And so it's always challenging my curiosity of like, what are some new ways in which we can help maximize the experience of our early talents? How can we then make sure that they're set up for success in the rotations? And, I can easily set up a 7-day onboarding and just like sit back and say, all right, we're copy pasting every time a cohort starts. That's never the case. We're always thinking about what new things can we add to it that will make it even that much more better. So challenging my curiosity and not just encouraging it, I think is something that I've enjoyed, that I've seen. Notable alumni. Yes, I have a couple. So for example, the 3 that I'll talk about. So one, of course, is Jenny Dearborn. So she was our ex-Chief Learning and Development Officer. And so now she's doing some fantastic stuff, as part of the Silicon Valley Leadership Association. She is one of the co-chairs. And then also she is driving a lot of consultant-based approach to how to build learning and development in startup cultures, right? So oftentimes startups are focused on the technology, the product, and then also let's make sure we're selling it, right? And so what Jenny is doing is she's left the organization, but she's doing some awesome stuff in making sure that learning and development is also at the core when it comes to, right at the start of these startups as they're growing. Another cool one is Senior VP of Sales at Google, Rob Enslin. So Rob Enslin actually came out of SAP, and now he's doing some fantastic stuff for Google Cloud. And then last one, from a personal perspective, so Tiffin Dano-Kwan was one of our marketing executives through Ariba. She was also the executive sponsor for our Pride at SAP, which is our LGBT plus leadership group, and also employee resource group. So she's left the organization, and now she's running as the chief marketing officer for Dropbox. So she's doing some awesome stuff in marketing when it comes to Dropbox. Not sure if you've all seen any of their marketing, but if you want, feel free to take a sneak peek, some of the cool stuff that she's helping run for Dropbox. I don't know if you had any other notable alumni, Katie.
Focusing on SVNT alum, the 2 that come to mind, is Brandon Hightower. He went through the SAP program, stayed within SAP for another year and a half, and then realized he had a side hustle of his clothing line, in which then he turned into his full-time job. So now, if you all are interested in buying technology there, another one is very similar to is Delphina Sitar. She actually created a complete startup called Pendula App that was then acquired by Strategist West, which is a venture studio that specializes in end-to-end processing and building. So we've had a few people who have gone through SAP, SVNT, stayed in SAP, and then create their own companies. We've also had people go through SVNT, stay in SAP for a few years, and then go and lead departments at LinkedIn, at Google. We do have this thing that we call the boomerang effect, where people leave and then within 6 months that they come back because they miss SAP's culture. So I will say that, although I do buy clothes from Brandon still. So there's that. Shot has a question on, is there any cool things SAP is working on COVID related in response or to the pandemic? So I'll start off with the two notable ones that come to my mind, and Joe, feel free to jump in. So a few of our team members, I'll think of three. One is when COVID first hit, SAP used our network and our technology and any resources we had to help support frontline workers. So for example, SAP supply chain had a bunch of beds that were going to be delivered to the hotels, but hotels shut down because of COVID. So through SAP, those hotel beds got redirected to hospitals because a lot of hospitals across the country did not have enough beds, and they were SAP customers. So through our network, we were able to redirect. We also helped through our network. We have a lot of automobile factories and warehouses in our network. And right now, no one's really buying cars and they can't really get into their warehouses. So through our technology, they were actually able to switch their output from car parts to ventilators to then send to the hospitals, because if you get COVID, there's I think a 50% chance that you might need to be on a ventilator, and the hospitals were running out of those. So we helped with that. We did a lot of donations. We took all of our 3D printers and printed masks, washable masks for the hospital and frontline workers. So that's something that we did on the line there. From a technology standpoint, we've done two things that come to mind. One is in Germany, they closed their borders for their own citizens and tourists. One of the things is that, right, they said, no, we don't want anyone coming in until we get this situation under control. What then ended up happening is a lot of people in Germany didn't know where their loved ones were, if they had contracted the disease, anything like that, because they couldn't go and find them. So our teams built an app in which it was a COVID response rate app that helped German citizens find their loved ones, see where they were, send support, and all of these other types of communications, and get alerted if they were able to come back home. Because the communication channels and fake news was so rampant in Germany, it was hard to sift through all that noise to actually find your loved ones. And the last one, as Joe just posted in the chat, is that the health company that is leading the front on the vaccine has chosen SAP as a company to help distribute the vaccine and use their technology in terms of the data analytics and validation process. So in terms of COVID, I would say SAP reacted super quick, helped in terms of boots on the ground, in terms of technology, and in terms of helping us get past this.
And then from a regional level, right, because I think a lot of these are like global pandemic impacts that I think are helping shape a lot of where folks should be going and how we should be reacting to the pandemic. From also kind of reverberation of sheltering in place. For example, the SAP Bay Area actually decided to get boots on the ground and do a vast audit of all of the Black-owned businesses, knowing that, people of color and folks of color owned businesses were the ones that were being negatively impacted by the crisis. And so the SAP Bay Area team, which both Katie and myself are a part of, were able to then share a long list of these large cities in the Bay Area and all of the Black owned businesses behind them, and also people of color businesses, so we can continue to support. So, I think that, one thing is, yes, because we're part of a large global organization, it's really important that we're thinking about these things from a global perspective, but at the same time, we need to make sure we're also thinking about it from like our own community impact. And those are some of the kind of initiatives that we've done related, not only directly related to COVID, but then also the like impact that it's shaped, post fact, from like an economic lens as well, and from a business lens. Feedback on hackathon and things you would like to see us continue that would be prepared for us, or that would help prepare us for SAP. One thing I will say is that feedback for you all is when it came to us sitting down and chatting, and Katie can also allude to it because she also sat with a couple of team members when it came to the pitch, understanding that, hackathons and hack challenges are fantastic, but then like, I think what's important is how can you then hold that accountability to the solution that you've offered, right? Like it's one thing to be able to reach an output. Something that I challenged the teams that I sat with were, how can we then ensure that the solution, as fantastic as it is, will then continue to, move that needle forward, making sure that we're providing that influence, whatever it might be. And I think that with SAP, it holds true. We have tons of hack challenges, tons of hackathons that have some fantastic prizes. But at the same time, though, like making sure you're not losing sight of also what's really important, which is the solution and why you have it, right? And how it connects to the kind of broader shape of the of society, because those are the things that we're always looking at. Case in point, the ways in which we are shifting or maybe even pivoting some of our efforts so that we're helping in the pandemic. So my note to you all is be intentional, but then also at the same time, make sure you're accountable. So those are probably my two big takeaways, is intentionality and also accountability based on the solutions, and then also while you're working at SAP, because, or if you're interested in working at SAP, because those two avenues are also very important to us that we look for in candidates. Katie, anything else to add?
I would say that anytime that you're working on something, I think a lot of people are so focused on the technology and what they want to work on that they skip over the discovery phase. They just skip over, is anyone else doing this in the market? And if they are, how is my product different? And so I would just say, I always find whenever I mentor startups on the side as well, and it is heartbreaking to see someone have like a full prototype or an MVP and realize that there's already someone in the market doing exactly the same thing that has already captured 50% of the market with their customers. So just making sure that you don't fast forward through that discovery stage. You should be obsessed with the problem you're trying to solve, not with the solution of the technology that you're trying to work with. If you have that as your grounding, then your ideas and your story and your pitch will be that much better, because you know the root problem and you're not just trying to make the problem fit with the technology. Generally in SAP, I would say I believe in luck. Luck is preparation meets opportunity. So come to events like this, ask these questions, always be networking, because you never know what opportunity is going to present itself, that you can just drop a simple one-liner. Hey, if you ever have an opening, I would love to talk to you about it. Or yes, I actually am working on that. Let's connect and see if we can share best practices. A simple line like that can lead to like the best career decision you've ever had. So always do that to get the opportunity. And at the same time, balance it with the preparation. Do these hackathons, read up, set a Google alert on like the type of technology that you're interested in, so you're up to date and you have something to talk about when you meet that person. Take the courses that are offered free to you. Don't think, oh, I'll do that tomorrow, right? Because then eventually your grad date comes and you don't have access to those free courses, and you realize, or LinkedIn learnings, and you realize they're $400 per course, online course. So taking advantage of it, preparing, having those topic talks and almost talk tracks to talk about it is how then you leverage the opportunities. Who should we reach out to if we want to invite SAP to virtually speak with our clubs this semester? Dupree, amazing question. And Joe, do you want to go ahead and answer it? Because I think you are the best person.
Yeah, you'll want to reach out to me. So in our conversations, now that I'm leading kind of the internal program strategy for the Bay Area, part of that is making sure that we are connecting ourselves well with organizations, clubs, entities out there, in not only helping provide you with tools, tips, and tricks, but then also, of course, pipeline for us, for those of you who want to join the organization. So to give you some examples of success, we like to do a kind of symbiotic or like co-innovation, co-collaboration opportunity where yes, we can come in and talk to you like this in an info session, but at the same time, a lot of you want to come away with something that's outside of like, oh, SAP is a cool company, I want to apply to it. So we do host some workshops for your clubs and organizations. 3 that we offer in our menu include power and professional pitch. So we do a professional pitch exercise. So if you feel like you and your club members would like to have that, we definitely host it in line with the info session and the content we talk now. Another one is LinkedIn. So a lot of you are just navigating the complexity of LinkedIn and what's important and what's not important. So we do a kind of deep dive, knowing that I come from a recruitment background, so does Katie. And so we've been able to consolidate some of the effective things. Similarly for resume boosting. So for those of you who maybe have a good resume, but you want to take it to that next level, or for those of you who are struggling with bullet pointing and how to finesse and craft a good resume in one page, we provide that workshop as well. So to your point, yes, feel free to reach out to me. That's why I went to this slide. You can add us on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way for you to continue your conversation with me. And then from there, we can continue to have that conversation and even connect you with other leaders within SAP that also focus on pipelining, right? So I'm in close collaboration with our lead recruiter for the Silicon Valley for our intern program, right? Because I don't recruit for the program, she does. I also know of our university alliance manager, right? And so if you are part of a university, like if you're interested in corporate sponsorships or financial support, she's the best person to contact. So definitely reach out to me as first point, and then we'll kind of take it from there. All right. Other questions? We have 2 minutes left.
Don't see any questions, but thank you. And I would like to echo that back to you all. Thank you so much for jumping on this call. Hopefully this was helpful.
The recording has stopped.
The recording has stopped. Hopefully this was helpful in not only getting you excited about SAP and IXP and SVNT, but also generally our application and the type of offerings we have do echo throughout the Bay Area and tech companies. So do your due diligence, get that preparation, take advantage of these opportunities. I will be very sad if none of you find me on LinkedIn. I do spell my name weird, so there, I think this is pointing to my name. Go ahead and find us. And then if you have any questions, let us know. But other than that, good luck. Joe, anything to add as we close out?
Nothing, just appreciate the time that you took in speaking with us today. I appreciate it even more in you all taking the time to build out some awesome solutions based on your all's proactivity in the challenge, right? I think that, this isn't associated to your grade. This isn't associated to any pay scale outside of the prizes, right? But I think you being able to then take some time outside of your normal day-to-day to do this, was really fantastic and inspiring. So thanks for your time, and follow up with us. And with that, I will end today's call and wish you all the best rest of your day, and then also happy weekend. Take care, everyone. Bye. Of course. See you all later.